Hello, hello. Hopefully y'all can hear me. My internet is a little dicey, so hopefully y'all can hear me and see me okay. I am doing my best with what I got, and it's not great. So, hey y'all. I am still in Italy, although I do head back to Mexico City tomorrow. So I thought this would be a great time to talk about my experience here over the last month. If you've got questions, drop them in the chat and we'll see if we can get them answered. Uh, if you are new here, hi. Welcome. My name is Adelia Abor Sade, and this is my channel where I share my experiences traveling the world, uh, living abroad, as well as tips, tricks, interesting information about getting your finances together. So, if any of those things sound good to you, you found your people. Welcome. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. That way, YouTube, make sure you get more of this kind of content to your feed. Again, if you've got any questions about Italy, traveling for a month, any of that kind of good stuff, drop it in the chat. Um, for the longest time, when I traveled, it would typically be, you know, because I'm good for flying in on the earliest flight, flying out on the latest flight. So I can do uh go back, turn around, very short flights. Um, but like traveling for a month straight, like unlike many of my friends, I have never done kind of like, oh, I quit my job and I traveled the world and I bopped around for a year and a half. I've never done that kind of traveling. The longest that I have ever traveled has been about a month. And the last that I traveled for a month straight was January, February of 2020. This is when I was living in China and I decided to bop around mostly Eastern Europe for Lunar New Year. And on that trip, it was a month, and I think I did 9 or 10 countries in a month, which is not my style of travel at all. Uh, I finally learned that lesson on that trip that I hate always being in transit. I hate always having to pack and unpack and repack. So, never again have I done that kind of trip. Uh, and yeah, this is probably the first time that I've gone someplace and stayed for a month. This is not my first time, um, this is not my first time in Italy. Actually, the first not the first foreign country I've ever been to, because I lived in Texas previously and drove to Mexico back in the days when you could just take your birth certificate, which, if you think about it, that's wild that this document in English that's not standardized across the United States, that we used to use that to go, like, I used birth certificate to go to Mexico, to go to Jamaica. That's wild. But the first country I ever visited after I got an actual passport was Italy, um, 20 24 years ago, actually, um, because I brought a group of students here. And then I came back to Italy 3 years ago. When was it? Was during COVID, it was for Omicron or whatever. So what was that, 2021, 2022? I was in Italy then, and I think I spent 2.5 weeks that time. So, this is the longest trip that I have taken to Italy, and it is the longest trip I've ever taken where done I've just been in one place. And again, if the if the video feed has frozen or is lagging or what have you, I apologize. But the building I am staying in is probably a good 400 or 500 years old, with walls that are probably 2 feet thick. Because I'm sitting in like a little window alcove right here and looking at this wall. It's about 2 feet thick. So internet in this building, um, not so great. So I apologize again for that. Next Tuesday, I should be back home and we should have fairly normal internet. So again, if you've got any questions, drop them in the chat. I saw a couple of them. Um, Somebody want to know what part of Italy have I been staying in? Um, that was kind of a tricky thing for me to decide. When I was here in 2021, 2022, whenever that was, um, I was in Venice, which is probably my least favorite place in all of Italy. I was in uh, the Emilia Romagna part of Italy, which is where Bologna and Modena are. And then I was in Florence, and I'm trying to think of what is the name of the region that Florence is in. I can't remember. But I mention that because Italy is divided up into a bunch of regions. Like in the US and Mexico, we have states. In Italy, they have regions. And that's important to me because each region has its own kind of food specialty. So, like, if you think about pasta, um, tortellini and tortelloni are specifically from the Emilia-Romagna, like where Bologna is. If you go to Florence, they are known for a different pasta dish, and so on and so forth. So when I was trying to decide which part of the country to go visit, I very much started researching, okay, what foods are each region known for? There's also a divide between the North and the South. Uh, a lot of the foods that we, as like people who live in the West, people in the US that are familiar with Italian food, um, a lot of what we think of is probably northern. Any kind of sauce or pastas that are made with eggs, sauces that are made with um, milk, cream, dishes that are meat heavy, meat forward. That's a northern Italian thing because the northern part of the country historically has been more wealthy and they can afford those things. As you go to the south, there's less meat, there's less cheese, there's a whole lot more vegetables. Given that I am not somebody who is big on vegetables, I was not very enthusiastic about my food options in the southern part of the country. That's not to say that you can't get different options in different regions, even if they're not local to it. But I think it'll be more difficult and it might be a bit more expensive. So all of that went into me deciding where I wanted to go and considering the places I had already visited. And so I ended up choosing Umbria. And one of the reasons, oh, that's where Venice, not Venice, Florence is in Tuscany. Um, I liked the foods that they make in Tuscany. I like the weather, the climate, all that kind of stuff. Problem is, Tuscany is very, very popular with tourists. So the prices are higher and there are a lot more tourists. So I wanted kind of the Tuscany feel without the prices and all the tourists. and that helped me decide on Umbria, which borders um, which borders Tuscany. So that's the part of Italy that I have been in most of the time. Last week, I went to a new region. This is part of the reason we did not have a live last week. On Tuesday, during the day, I took the train from this small town that I am in. I think the population here is about 35,000 people. I took the train into Rome and met up with Halisi and Rick of Our Black Utopia, and we hung out for the day. And then I took the overnight train up to the north, and I am not going to remember the name of the region. The town is Pordenone, but the region, it's about an hour outside of Venice. If you are familiar with Aviano Air Force Base, it's very close to there. And so this time last week, I was asleep on the overnight train. I thought that I would be able to go live from the overnight train. I don't know why I thought that. The inner city train does not have Wi-Fi, and the way the train was moving, the noise, it just wouldn't have worked anyway. So that's why we didn't have a live last week. So I've been mostly in Umbria, and then I spent about a week last week in the northern part, very close to the border with Slovenia. I was very tempted to hop on a train and go to Slovenia, but maybe I will do that next time. I didn't this time. So, um, so yeah. Um, I saw you eating vegetables in that wonderful looking tomato sauce. Trust me, there were no vegetables in it. Um, I don't speak any Italian. I got, hello, goodbye, thank you. And I know how to ask, are there vegetables in this? And um, this is a fairly easy country, or the parts of it I've been to, fairly easy to navigate when it comes to food and vegetables and that sort of thing. So eating has been not too bad, not too bad. Um, so yeah, that's where I have been. Um, I did not necessarily want to bop around on this trip. I very much just kind of wanted to post up somewhere and you know, kind of just be in a place. I think I mentioned this before. Some people travel because they want to go do all of the things. The way I like to travel, sort of just like to experience a place, wander a bit, see what there is to offer, and just kind of be there and live there for however much time that I am in the country. Um, so let's see what other question y'all had. Um, What is Umbria known for? Let me try to remember. I remember looking at the pasta dishes and this part of Umbria, truffles. Because I look at all these different restaurant menus. This part of the country, truffles are big. Um, I feel like pecorino cheese is big here. And the foods are very similar to those in Umbria. I mean, not in Umbria, in Tuscany. The pasta here, it's not super exciting. It's kind of this flat, no, not a flat, kind of like a square spaghetti is the pasta specific to this area of Umbria. I get the impression that if you go to a different part of Umbria, it might be a different pasta. But it's very similar to what you would think of when you think of Florence when it comes to like food and wine and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, and that's sort of how I decided on the region. Now, deciding on a specific town, that was tricky because um I didn't want to go to the big city. I've been to Rome, I've been to Naples, I've been to Capri, I've been to Florence twice, I've been to Venice twice, I've been to Verona. There's probably another place in there too. So, in choosing where I wanted to be, I knew the region, but then there's a bunch of provinces, a bunch of cities. Um, I kind of was like, I just need to be able to get there either by train or by bus, because I flew direct from Mexico City. Having an international airport where I can fly to direct to multiple international locations is one of the reasons I chose to live in Mexico City. I don't in this world, this post, well, I'm not even gonna say we post COVID because COVID's still killing people. But in this world, after we have lived through what we have lived through over the last 5 years, um, I I don't take connecting flights if I can at all avoid it, because I don't want to get stuck somewhere. I don't want to get stuck somewhere. And I also don't connect through the United States because if I have to get stuck somewhere or if my flight is delayed, the United States, basically you're on your own having to reschedule a flight or do anything like that. In Europe in particular, because the last was it the last time I was in Europe? I guess I was flying back to Mexico City from Lisbon, and I flew from Lisbon to Madrid. It was supposed to be Madrid to Mexico City. My flight left Lisbon late. I had a very short layover, missed the flight. As I walked off the plane from Lisbon in Madrid, they were there with my boarding pass, already booked me for the next flight. They were like, go down here, get your luggage. The bus is waiting to take you to the hotel. I see so many stories of people in the US. They're like, we're stranded and they won't give us food vouchers and they won't give us a hotel stay. You don't have to worry about that if you miss your flight or there's a huge delay in Europe. So, um, that's one of the benefits of being in Mexico City. I can fly direct to a bunch of places. So there is a direct flight from Mexico City to Rome. So I knew I would be landing in Rome and just need to figure out how I was going to get where I was going to get. Um, I wanted to stay in Perugia because they're known for chocolate, and as y'all know, I'm a fan of hot chocolate. But when I started looking for places to stay, that's where things got tricky because my timing was a little off. I was under the impression that high season was in the summer, like July, August. No, season starts in like May. So, Perugia was more expensive than I wanted to spend. So I just started looking for places that were within my budget that also, because again, my requirement was I needed to be able to get there from Rome fairly easily. I wanted a place that I didn't want to be switching hotels, Airbnbs, vacation rentals, whatever. I kind of just wanted to be in one place and be still. And wherever that place was located in the town, I wanted to be sort of like in the middle of the action. And so I came across this place, which is, I mean, I look out my window, there's the piazza. I posted on Instagram my 2-minute walk to the gelato shop. Location, when I saw this place, the location was perfect. So that's kind of how I decided. I also didn't want a super small town. And there are some, like very close to here, there is a town that has a hemp museum, and I tried to go, but that didn't work out. That town has a population of 493. So I did not want to be in some place super, super small. I also did not want to be in a place that was very big because I wanted to sort of just kick back and relax on this trip. So all of those things went into me finding this particular town, which I had never heard of. Most people have never heard of. When I go on YouTube, there are virtually no videos about this town. Um, but I've enjoyed it. It worked out. Um, let's see. I just saw there was a question here. Um, any hot single men there? Not in this town. Italy has one of the oldest populations in Europe. And that is very true of this town. Although, I kept seeing all of these kids, and I thought, okay, so maybe this town isn't that old. No, I think those kids were on school field trips. Um, I'm sure there are hot single men somewhere, but not here. So the answer to your question is no. Starting my slow travel journey in January, I feel like I'm too late to the party. You're not. You're not. There's a whole lot of the world to see. Uh, Over tourism and inconsiderate travelers have messed it up for everyone. How are the vibes there? In this town, people have been very nice. Here's the drawback to choosing a town like this that doesn't have a huge tourist um it's not big on the tourist track is there's very little English spoken here. Now, I my birthday was like right before I came. I was busy with that. I did not spend a lot of time trying to enhance my Italian vocabulary. The times I'd been here previously, I was like, oh, I got some Spanish. I'll be good. In this town, very few people speak English. Now, are they upset with me because I don't speak Italian? That is not the vibe I am getting. The pastry shop that I go to get hot chocolate and get some pastries, that woman does not speak English, but she speaks Italian to me as if I speak it. And so I just listen for some words. And if I think she's saying what I think she's saying, I say yes a lot. I ended up with a slice of apple walnut cake one day because of that. But yeah, and no, I don't eat apples. I don't think the vibe here has been great. The fact that I don't speak Italian has not been a problem. I haven't been getting like negativity from people because of that. But they're also like, like, we gonna do this in Italian, or they are very patient when I take out my phone because I'm trying to, like the menu is posted, and I'm trying to translate the menu. When I was in Pordenone, which is probably twice the size of this town, Pordenone was big enough. This town, even though it only has 35,000 people, it does have a movie theater. It shows 3 movies, all in Italian. I went to Pordenone and I was able to go to the movies and watch Sinners at a screening in English. And there, again, the vibes were okay. They got a little bit more tourist traffic, but not overrun. And that's one of the things I like about a country like Italy. If you get outside of the probably top 5 places that people visit, you can get away or get away from the tourists or get to places that have less of an over tourism impact, that sort of thing. So no, I don't think you should not feel like you're too late to the game because there are a bunch of places you can go. There are a bunch of places you can go. Um, Tell us about your fabric finds. Most of you know this, but if there's somebody new watching, you may not know this, but I sew my clothes. And one of the things that I do when I travel is I shop for fabric. Italy is a fabulous place to shop for fabric. There's some really incredible stuff here. Um, but it's kind of been hit or miss. When I was in Rome, I was there's fabric stores that just have all kind of stuff, designer dead stock, really, really great. In a town like this, I looked on the map for fabric store. It was like, here you go. I go in there and the fabric they are selling are tablecloths, table runners, napkins. Um, so, in smaller places, fabric shopping isn't quite what I thought it would be. And something as being somebody who lived in the United States, lived in Mexico, where you buy the fabric and the notions in the same place, you don't do that here. There's a separate haberdashery that you go to for, your buttons, your elastic, your bias tapes, your trims, and all of that. I have actually been very good, probably because I've been in this small town most of the time, and I only bought 1 piece of fabric that I bought at the very beginning of my trip, although I have some time in Rome before I fly out, um, and so I'll probably do a little bit more fabric shopping there. In case you're wondering, like, oh, is the fabric cheaper there? No, it's not. Is it the stuff that's actually made in Italy? Because the fabric that I bought is made in Italy. Is it really good quality? Absolutely. Absolutely. It looks like a piece of art, but not cheap. I did go to this one haberdashery and I about lost my mind because I this is not something I really have access to like that in Mexico City because garment sewing is not super popular there. But like everything I could think of, I'd mention because soon as I walked through the door, and this was in Rome, soon as I walked through the door, any of us who live in places where we don't look like the people from there, they find the person who speaks English and that's who they send to talk to you. They sent this little girl to talk and she was like, "Hello, welcome. What do you need?" And so I'm like, "Do y'all have this?" Because things weren't all out and displayed. She was like, "Oh yeah." And she goes over there and she shows me like they've got 27 million of those. And then I'd be like, "Oh, well, I could use some buttons." And she's like, they're basically the whole wall of the store was buttons. And she was like, "What kind do you need?" Blah, blah, blah. I ended up getting these gorgeous leopard print, hand cut leopard print buttons. I have no idea what I'm gonna use them for, but they were too pretty to leave behind. So the fabric shopping is pretty good. I think next time I come to Italy, I have not spent any time in Milan. I've flown into Milan once, but I've never spent time there. I think that's what I'm gonna do next time, and definitely put more time in for fabric shopping, particularly given the tariff situation in the United States. It just makes more sense for me to buy fabric while I'm out traveling as opposed to getting things shipped to me and whatnot. Um, so yeah, if y'all got any questions, drop those in the chat. Um, yes, this sounds like me. Gelato shop was very, very important. I have had gelato. Have I had gelato every day? I think there might have been one day I missed because when I was up in Pordenone, it started raining and where I was staying was not like in the city of the city. And I did not want to ride the bike in the rain to get there. So I bought some gelato from the grocery store across the street. And after eating from one of world's best gelato spots. And I kid you not, in 2017, their pistachio gelato was the world champion. After eating from them for like 20 some days and then having to eat that grocery store gelato, I threw it away. Like, oh my gosh, this is subpar. So yeah, being close to a gelato place, being kind of in the city of the center of town or the city or what have you worked well. Pastries, I have not had the kind of experience I've had in other parts of the country. So I don't know if that's a regional thing or if it's a small town thing. I don't know. But like when I was in Bologna, I felt like, and when I was in Modena, I felt like there were more options when it came to pastries, more like in line what I was used to, but yes, that's kind of what my thinking was. Okay. Well, wait, I'm probably not communicating to y'all how awesome this haberdashery was. Like, I was still thinking about it 2, 3 days later. And as I'm like just losing my shit in the store, she was like, "We ship." And I was like, "Do y'all ship internationally?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Y'all ship to Mexico?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay." We might be in business, but like I would go back to Rome just to go to that haberdashery. Um, um, I won't be visiting the United States for the foreseeable future. I've been to the Fashion District in Los Angeles before. Um, and so I know theirs is good. I know New York's is good, but I won't be going to the United States for the foreseeable future. So I do have another trip this summer, um, when I go to Scotland, and we've built in time in London to go fabric shopping, and I've done fabric shopping in London before, and it's pretty good as well. Um, okay, I like this question right here. Um, Did you see a few people like us in the town you stayed in? Were they friendly towards you? Okay. So let's talk about that because um I when I was in Rome on my way in, because of, well, I did not land and immediately get on a train to come here. I took a day, was in Rome for a little bit, and then came the next day. The part of Rome I was staying in, I was very surprised because I've not been to Rome in 20 years, 24 years. I was surprised at the number of South Asians and were they East Asians? No, South Asians and Africans I saw in this neighborhood in Rome. And I was like, oh, because, you know, Italy is not the easiest country in the world to immigrate to. Um, so I was surprised. I was like, look at all this melanin over here. So I get to this town and it's very white. And then on my first day here, I'm walking around and I saw one black person and I was like, wow, but he appeared to be African, like from the continent to me. So I wasn't sure if he lived in this town or not. And then I told y'all about like, apparently this town is on the list of places where the school field trips go. Because I thought there's no way in hell this town has all of these kids. And I asked the guy at a restaurant, and he was like, "Oh no, this time of year we get a lot of schools field trips or whatever." I saw what appeared to be a black kid in one of those groups, and I was like, "Oh." I thought he was local to here. So to answer your question, I have seen a few black people in this town. I've seen a few black people come as tourists, and I've seen a few like young folks on their school trips come here. Um, but the whole month that I've been here, I've probably seen 4 Black people that I think live in the town. I don't think they live in this central part where I am. So this particular town, not much ethnic variety. When I was in Pordenone, um, I was low key shocked because I'd been here for 3 weeks, and then I went there, and there were, like, women in hijabs, and there were people who were all shades of the spectrum from different places. When I went to the gelato shop, because of course that was one of my first stops, I'm listening to a guy describe the flavors, and it's like, he's speaking Spanish, and I see a woman who is Black, and I asked her in Spanish, I was like, "Where are you from?" She was Colombian. So, I think it varies depending where you are, um, but the reception, I have not had any, like, negative thing, and I know Italy is one of those places that gets a bad reputation, like, they don't like Black people there. Oh, no. I've not had that experience. I have not had any issue now. I will tell y'all this, there's some com peculiarities, or at least I think they are, like, that folks, if they don't know, might take offense, like, when you buy something and you've got change or receipt, they don't put it in your hand here. So, like, at the grocery store, after she runs your stuff, she just throws the ticket down there on top of your groceries. Um, Virtually every shop or restaurant I've been in here, they have, like, a little dish where that's where they put the receipt, that's where they put the change, they don't put it in your hand, and I have heard Americans be like, "Why they wanna put the money in my hand?" Apparently, that's not something they do here. But yeah, so I've seen people who are not white, but this town is pretty white. Um, I don't know. I would imagine if I was in a place that maybe had a higher number of immigrants, um, that would be more of an issue. I think I was so surprised to see folks in Rome, and these people were, like, running restaurants and doing that kind of thing, because when I was here 24 years ago, the only Black folks I saw were the folks who were, like, selling, the fake purses wrapped up in the sheet. When the cop comes, they pick up all their stuff and they go. So it seems that over the last 24 years, there's been some migration here and some integration into society. But this particular town does not have a lot of diversity. And I don't see a whole lot of diversity with the tourists I have seen. But like I said, when I was up in the north, and what is the name of that region? It's 3 words in the name. It's just out, it borders um what is it? Vicenza is the region that Venice is in. It borders that. Um, yeah. So that's what I have heard or what I've experienced. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Sam, what other questions were in there? We talked about the lack of hot single men. Okay. Did you focus your search on hotels or apartment rentals? The vibe I was going for on this trip, what I really wanted was some nonna who was running like a guest house. And I wanted to rent a room in her guest house, so that there would be somebody cleaning my room on a weekly basis and maybe somebody provide me breakfast. But that's the vibe I wanted. Now I was unable to find those kinds of places. And I don't know if I just made it up in my head that that was a thing, or if I just couldn't tap into the websites where those things were listed. Like maybe they exist, but they're not online. So that's what I really wanted. I want to stay like in a guest house um, with somebody's grandma. So that didn't work. I think my preference would have been a hotel because again, I wanted easy. But none of the hotels I looked at gave you any kind of discount for staying for a month. And so financially, it did not make sense. Uh, Short-term rental made more sense from a financial point of view. And that is not the experience I wanted. I did consider house sitting, but one of the things I noticed about and it's probably because it's foreigners, Brits and Americans who tend to want pet sitters. A lot of those properties were rural or you needed to have a car, and that was not the experience that I wanted to have. And so, um, um, so I nixed that for this experience. Um, okay. So I ended up with a vacation rental, um, and my host, he came pick me up from the train station, um, when I needed a, step up, step down transformer so that I could use my sewing machine because I brought it with me, and was, messaging with him, asking, like, "Where can I buy this?" Or then when I had to order it online, you know, figuring out how things work to get that done. So it worked out, but that was not my original plan for this. And then there was also this trip wasn't just about me coming to hang out for a month. It was like maybe I'll split my time between Mexico and Italy, like spend 3 months out of the year here and the other, was it 9 months in Mexico, particularly because this time of year is super hot. Um, and so, trying to figure out what kind of place that would be, seeing if this place that I'm staying, like, could this be my spot that when I come back, this is where I stay? No, because this town of 35,000 people is a little too small. There are a bunch of towns that are smaller than this, and there were some that I looked at that were like 10, 15,000. And I'm glad I didn't choose one of those because that would have been way too small. Yes, the lady at the gelato shop knows me. She knows me. She knows my order. It's really only a question, do I want a small or a medium today? The folks in the square, they know me. One, I'm a foreigner. I don't speak Italian, and I look like this. And so, that's been nice as well. Um, let's see, what other question? Um, are there specific things you do to prepare to be away from your Mexico City apartment for a long time? Not so much now because I have a roommate, and so she's been there. But I made sure, we paid the rent. I left my money, my share of the money for the housekeeper, that sort of thing. And that's one of the reasons I did want to consider co-living is because if I am going to split my time between two countries, um, having somebody at the other place makes it makes it more doable for me. Um, but when I was living by myself and like when I went to Europe for a month in 2020, I'm trying to think, was there anything I did for my apartment? Um, well, because it was China, I covered the drains because I was gonna be gone for so long, and, had to put the dog up. I had to board my dog. Um, Now that's the thing. I do wish I would have gotten to bring Mia here when I came the last time. That is what I was gonna try to do, but in the middle of COVID and all of the requirements, and I was coming from Mexico, which didn't allow at the time, the COVID requirements were such that Mexico was on the no, you can't come here list, but the United States, I could come. So that meant I had to bring her to the US, then bring her here. And I wasn't sure what all the requirements were. It was just too much, but very dog friendly country. I would say even more dog friendly than Mexico City. And for those of you that have been to Mexico City, you know that that is really saying something. Um, I was reading reviews on some bakery and I noticed they got marked down. So I was like, let me go see what the negative reviews are. It was all people who were pissed off that they wouldn't let them bring their dog in. Like bringing your dog into the restaurant, on the train, wherever is so common. They were just indignant. Like they wouldn't even let me bring my dog in there. So if you want to travel with your dog, I think Italy is a great choice. Um, ba, ba, ba. Is Bologna a good city for a honeymoon or is it also touristy? It it is touristy. Not touristy. There are lots of tourists there, but the food in Emilia Romagna, the it it the name of that region, I believe it translates to like fat woman because the food is so good there. Um, the food makes it worth it. But Bologna is actually a university town, I believe. I don't know if it would make a good honeymoon. It's been forever since I had one of those. I guess it depends on what you want to do. Bologna is about, is it like 100,000 people? So there are things to do. I think Bologna is great, particularly if you get outside of the center of town, because that's where I feel like most of the big tourist crowds were. Um, I think Modena might be a good place too. And again, bopping between cities, like I stayed in Bologna and then hopped on the train to Modena, did a food tour, whatever, and then hopped on the train back. And it was like 20 minutes on the train, something like that. That's the other thing that I like about Italy. It is fairly easy to get between one place and the other and not super expensive on the train. Um, yeah. Uh, how did you do laundry? This apartment has a washer. So, and where I stayed in Pordenone, they had a washer dryer combo, like not stackables, but the one thing that's a washer also dries your clothes. I'm trying to think if I saw any laundry places. Oh, I don't. I wasn't looking, but I have been able to wash my clothes and staying in one place for a month. That was one of the things that was on my list. Um, so the art of doing nothing. When I told people that I was coming to Italy, and they were like, "So what are you doing? What are your plans?" I had no plans. That I just wanted to come here, be here, and do nothing. And that is pretty much what I have done for the last month. So if you've emailed me, you're probably like, that's why she ain't emailed me back. Yeah. Um, the art of doing nothing, I think, is something we all could benefit from doing more. Um, I will say that being 8 hours ahead of Mexico City has made it easier to let go and detach from, oh, what else is going on? Because like everybody's asleep over there when I'm out, walking around and looking at stuff. I made no, because there was a part of me that was tempted to be like, okay, these are the things I want to do. Like how many things do I want to sew while I'm there? How many days am I going to go and try and go to a museum? Um, I decided not to do that and that I would just kind of go with how I felt. So there were some days where I got up, I ate, and then I went back to sleep, got up, made sure I hit the gelato spot, and then came back and did nothing. Um, Now, you say you're in Cabo Verde for 6 weeks and you are bored. Um, I think I empathize with that, and like I say, this town is s s small such that, like, this is not a place I could live because there's not enough of the things I want to do. Because that's one of the things when people talk about, like, "Oh, I went such and such place, or such and such place has so many things to do." There are probably lots of things to do here, but they're not my things. They're not the things that I want to do. I don't need to see the inside of another church. I have seen plenty of those. My last 2 visits, good. But, like, those are the things. There's all of these churches. There are these, converted, what do you call them, convents or monasteries or that sort of thing. So, um, you're in Cabo Verde. Are you a beach person? So, like, I am not a beach person, which is why I no longer spend time at the beach, because a lot of when we think about like, oh, I just want to relax, I want to kick back. And a lot of the imagery we get is like, oh, you need to be on a beach somewhere. And then I realized I don't like the beach. So I stopped booking those kinds of trips. Um, I also am curious, are you bored because like what do you want to be doing? Like, are there things you wanna do and that you can't do there? Or is it just there's nothing to do? And I would also wonder, like reframe that. Like, I wanted to, like, spend time with myself, just doing nothing. Um, and that's kind of what I've done here. So I am curious about that. Let me see. What other questions? Yeah, Kyoka. No. Here, I don't know that there is anywhere dogs aren't allowed to go, and they don't have to be in a bag. People just kinda have them in their arms or they're walking them on their leash. Uh, okay. How much did you budget for the month? I did not. I don't like to budget. Again, I did a video on this a couple years ago. If anything, I'm an anti-budgeter. I don't like to say, this is how much I'm gonna spend on this. I don't want to have to think about it. I fund my priorities. When I get money, I fund my priorities, and my priorities are like travel, fabric. So I have a travel fund. And as I'm on a trip, I just spend money that comes out of that travel fund. It's like a sinking fund. It's money I'm always putting aside so that when I do have somewhere to go, I can just go and I can be. Now, I did, I guess you could say, have an idea of what I wanted to spend on accommodations because that was really the most expensive thing other than my plane ticket. But as far as like day to day, how much I was spending, not really concerned. Gelato costs somewhere between 3 and 4 euros a day. Um, I did not budget, so sorry. At the other town I was in, their gelato was only 190, and I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I've been paying them uh, city center prices. Um, but if you are somebody who wants to budget, um, I would say your biggest expense is going to be your accommodation. And I use Toshal Finance, Toshl Finance, because that's the app I use to track my spending. But you can also, there's a feature in it that allows you to build a budget. One of the reasons I use that particular app is because you can use all of the currencies. That's one thing that made traveling to different countries tricky, because like, oh, I paid in euro here, I paid in pesos here, I paid in Great British pounds here. So you could use an app like that to spend. Most restaurants, or a lot of restaurants, have their menus posted outside online. The prices haven't varied that much on like what a pasta dish costs, that sort of thing. I was really surprised at how inexpensive the pizza has been. So you can kind of look at that stuff before you go and get a feel for it and make a decision like, if you're trying to manage your expenses, maybe your big meal, your expensive meal, you go out at lunch because those prices are a little bit cheaper. Um, what was the other thing I was going to say? Most places have menus online and you can see that. And the prices are like, in the last 5 years, the price difference I see between the United States then and now, huge. Here, the prices are pretty much on par with where they were the last time I was here. I've not seen a big, big jump there. Um, for your milestone birthday, was the trip everything you imagined? I kind of don't count this as a milestone birthday trip, even though it was. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. And so for folks on the outside looking in, they're like, okay, she ain't do nothing but eat gelato all the time. Yes, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. So no, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. Part of me being here, like I said, was trying to figure out if Italy was going to be the place that I split my time with, from Mexico. And oh, and then there was there was a small part of me, because I'm sure y'all seen all of the talk about the €1 houses. That is much further south. There are no €1 houses in the northern part of Italy. You you gotta have some money. You're gonna buy a house up here. Although I did see an apartment in the historical part of town, for like 70 grand something. Um, but there was a part of me that thought about, because there are some towns where you can get a move-in ready house for $12,000, $20,000. There was a part of me that thought, okay, so I go and I spend this time in Italy, and if I really, really love it, maybe I pursue buying one of those really affordable houses, because if Italy's going to be a place that I spend a lot of time, paying $12,000 for a house, my light went out. There we go. Paying 10, $12,000 for a house for some place I'm gonna stay multiple months every year, that that's not a bad deal. I don't know, why is my light going out? Is it, oh, I don't know what's happening there. Um, I don't know that I want to own property even if it is super affordable. I don't know. The jury is still out on that. Hold on, y'all. We'll do that. Um, the jury is still out on that. So, for my main goals for this trip, yes, it turned out the way I wanted it to be. Determining if this is a place that I am going to come to regularly, the jury is still out. But I do know that this is not a place that I could live full time. And that this is one of the reasons I just wanted to come and be and not do anything, is because there are certain things that I sort of discovered about myself or about what I want in a place that I'm going to be that I didn't realize before. Like, it kind of I'm not sure what I was thinking previously, but it wasn't until this trip that it really hit me that Italians are white people. Like, they don't have quite the colonial past that a lot of other European countries have, but also there is white people. And I don't think I want to live in a country where it's like so many white people. Like, a lot of folks, when they're moving abroad, living in a place that has a Black community, a Black population is important. I mean, I got my circle of Black folks in Mexico City, but I think one of the things that I like about being in Mexico in general, and I couldn't put my finger on it before this trip, is when you look at a place like Mexico, the majority of the population is not white, and like they've got a history that is parallel in some way, has a lot of similarities to the history of my people. And I guess I can connect and identify with that. Less so here. Again, I didn't think this being a white country was that big of a deal, but I think it is. So I think we definitely know that I'm not going to be jumping through the hoops and trying to get a residency visa here. My relationship with Italy will probably continue to be it is some place that I come to hang out. Now, will it be the place that I split my time with from Mexico? The jury is still out on that. Did the Italians you interact with seem to be at all concerned with the political climate in the US? No. Nobody asked me anything about that. Not at all. Even when I was in Pordenone, where there were more like English speakers, no. And I mean, I don't, I'm one kind of appreciative because I'm like, what can I do about it? All I can do is tell y'all I didn't vote for that man. Um, but I'm sure, and don't let my response to that question make you think that like, oh, people don't care. I'm pretty sure they do because the actions that the United States has taken is about to fundamentally shift things here in Europe, but that was not something people felt like they needed to talk to me about. So, okay. Um, what was the most expensive thing you bought in Italy, not including accommodation, and why was it fabric? Because it was fabric. Because again, the people, younger people will speak English. Older folks, mm-mm. So I'm in the store. I'm looking at the things like they've got Missoni fabric, they've got Pucci fabric, they have all of these Italian designers. And so the ones I could see the price tag on, I was like, I'm not paying $60 a yard, a meter for fabric. The fabric that I did get, what I thought the price was, and what the price actually was, were not the same thing. And is this the most expensive fabric I have ever bought? Probably not, but the most expensive thing I have spent money on this trip, 100% fabric, 100%. Um, Let me tell you something. So when you're on vacation, you're a grown woman, F that budget on your birthday. I Now this is not new to me being 50, but I'm very much more comfortable embracing it. I don't want to do anything that is an encumberment that is going to like, I don't want to just say be work. Like if it's not easy, I ain't doing it. And so like now please don't take this to mean like I have not tracked my spending. I am very dutiful about every time I go to the gelato shop, even when I go more than once a day, of putting that in my app so that at some point, if I want to look back and see what did I spend, I can do that. But saying this is what I'm going to spend and then having to keep track and keep a tab running of have I spent? Mm-mm. That's heavy lifting, and I don't lift heavy things. Not in that way. Not in that way. Um, have you heard about those 7% towns for elective residency? Yes. That is in the southern part. Anytime, like the most affordable houses, the 7% taxes, Italy, that's like one of the few things that I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Those are the places that have been losing population, and so they're trying to get people there. That's the same with the towns that are selling houses for €1. These are towns that are on the verge of nobody being there, so they're trying to get people there. I have not spent much time in southern Italy, and I thought I might be extending this trip and heading down to Sicily. That's not gonna happen. I am gonna head back home this week, but when I come back, I think I'm gonna hit Milan and I might go back to Pordenone. There is a if you are a black woman and you're like, I want to move to Italy, but I would love a place where there's some more black women. Pordenone. um, there are some there. I went to the movies. I went to see Sinners with, um, I mean, I guess she's Black American. She's also Afro Brazilian. Her and her husband, we went to the movies together. Um, Okay. I was trying to remember where I was going with this. So I do think I will spend, I'm gonna try and get to Southern Italy. It hasn't been like a priority for me because one, I already told y'all about the food. Like I'm not sure what I would eat in Southern Italy. And then two, a lot of the attraction are beaches, and I'm not a beach person. But I know that that is an area that a lot of people are interested in, but it's not that's not the vibe I'm going for. Okay. Yes. I I knew what I wanted to do, and here's the thing. I have had I have had literally the best gelato in Italy. It is sold at a place in, was it Florence or was it Bologna? I'm trying to remember. I've literally had the best gelato in Italy. So I know good stuff. So the stuff here is good. I wanted to partake. Um, yes. Well, technically, the movie theater that I went to was just outside of Pordenone. Um, yes, it is. It is in the part of the country where Prosecco. That's why I said like um I would go back to Pordenone because one, um, the wine. Two, it was small enough and big enough, where that there were things I could do the things I wanted to do. Um, like go to the movies. Now, I will say this. There was only one showing of Sinners in English. It was at 7:15 p.m. I took the bus from in town, and that even in this town where I am right now, like they've got buses to get you around in the town and to connect you other places. So like transportation wise, you don't have to have a car. But when I took the bus to the theater in Pordenone, the bus stops running at 8 p.m. So, that it is, so there was some of the small town, like, this kind of sucks sort of thing. But the theater was just outside of like the limits of Pordenone. Um, I mean, I actually, had I not ended up going to the movies with them because they had a car and they dropped me off, I very much considered um just walking back because it was like an hour walk. That's not horrible. Like a lot of us be talking about, "Oh, I want to be in a place that's walkable." Walkable does not always mean everything is within a 5-minute walk. That could mean there's a lot of 20 and 30-minute walks there too. Um, but yeah, the, additionally, what I liked about Pordenone is it's not in the mountains, but you have a view of the mountains. Like I could see, what is it, the Dolomites. So easy to get to by train. Their train station is located in the center of town, which I appreciated. In this town, it is not. Like I am in the center of town. It's a 25-minute walk to the train station. Um, but yeah, I would go back to Pordenone. I think next time I come, I'm gonna hit up Milan. Had I been here, had I been here for April, May, and June, there is a Milan Frocktails that I would have loved to have gone to. Like I see what they're posting on IG and it looks incredible. And I was like, had I known the date of their Frocktails, I might have adjusted um my dates so that I could attend that. So that might be when I come back. I don't know, but I will be back to Italy. I don't know that I will come back to this town because I think like I've seen I've seen the things. I've eaten the stuff. Also, what I did not think about being this town was built in the 12th century, and I am in the part of town that was built then. So, like, I can look out this window and see a Roman arch that used to be connected to the forum that was located here. Cobblestones, and there are hills. Is it like Lisbon? No, because Lisbon, I just can't deal with. Well, one thing I do like about this town is they have uh escalators. So like I went to the grocery store this morning. From here to the grocery store is downhill. Coming back, I took the underground escalators. So I would not have to uh walk uphill carrying groceries. I appreciate that about this town. Both this town and Pordenone have like large music festivals and that sort of thing, even though these are places I would think are too small for that. So, on the whole, it's been the experience that I wanted to have. Um, like I said, I learned a few things about myself that I did not realize. And I was able to answer some questions about, moving forward with like, am I gonna have a bicontinental lifestyle or not? So on the whole, I think it was what it was supposed to be. But yes, I will be back to Italy. Um, All right, I'm going through here one more time to see if y'all had any more questions because I should be going to bed. That's the other thing, the time difference. I have the time on my laptop is Mexico City time, the time on my cell phone is local time, and I often forget which one I'm supposed to be on. Like if I'm on my computer, um, I forget like, oh, that's not the time here. And you need to be like, okay, y'all hear about siesta in Spain and in parts of Portugal. That is very much a thing here. A business will close at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and not open back up until 3 or not open back up till 4. And so living in a place like Mexico City where I can eat whenever I want and so I don't have to pay attention to like official meal times. Um, I have been there's a couple times I've been caught out hungry because I was thinking I was on like, oh, it's only, you know, it's only like 9 a.m. And really it's a time here. No, I'm doing the math. But y'all get the point I'm trying to make. Uh, I needed to be more careful about knowing what time it was locally because what is time? I have a little bit of time blindness. But yes, there were several times I got caught out when everything was closed or the places I wanted to eat were closed. And then, like, my favorite gelato shop, they're not open on Mondays. So I'd have to find alternatives for Mondays, and those alternatives were not always good. All right. Last call for questions. How do you carry your sewing machine on the plane? If I was coming here from the United States, I would have made my sewing machine one of my carry-ons because as long as you remove the needle, you can TSA, FAA, whoever is in charge of that, allows you to take a sewing machine as a carry-on. My machine weighs 17 pounds, 18 pounds. So that's still kind of in the range of what a carry-on can be. Mexico does not allow you to take a sewing machine as a carry-on. How do I know that? Because back in 2018, when I moved to Mexico, I brought my machine in as a carry-on. Like I didn't even have it in a bag. Literally, I just carried the machine. No problem. When I got ready to leave, they were like, "Oh no, you got to check this. You can't bring this through here." And I was like, "I carried it into the country." And they were like, "Whatever. You need to go check this." So, coming from Mexico, I had it in my bag. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I posted a video because I was like, "Oh, I've got checked bags for this trip. Like, what do I pack? How do I pack?" I fail the packing. This is not my kind of packing. Give me a small bag, I can make miracles happen. Give me a big ass suitcase and I don't know what I'm doing. I I'm looking around at clothes that I brought that did not get worn, things that I brought that did not get used. Uh, and then on top of that, my my bag ended up being at the weight limit. So, if you've ever traveled to Europe, you know you really should travel with a small bag, as smaller bag as you can, because elevators, if they exist, are small. Um, these cobblestone streets, like not really made for lugging around large suitcases. I know that. I have been to Europe. I know that. But I did not want to have multiple bags. So I was like, we'll pack one bag, have my sewing machine in there. My clothes can cushion the sewing machine. And that part worked. Where that part stopped working was the minute I hit the ground in Italy. That bag was so damn heavy. The first place I stayed in Rome, they were like, "Oh, there's an elevator." Okay, but there are 3 steps to get into the building. Once you're in the building, there's another 5 steps you gotta go up to get to the elevator. And I have a bag that weighs 70 pounds. So, and then when I got in the elevator, literally there was just room for me and the bag in the elevator. I knew there was an elevator in the building here. What I didn't think about was, how you gonna get that bag from the train station to this apartment? Luckily, my host picked me up. He picked up that and we drove right up to the building, put it in the elevator, no problem. But now that I'm getting ready to go back, I don't know that he is going to take me to the train station. So I'm sitting here thinking like, how do I navigate the cobblestones in the hills? Now, luckily, it's downhill. So worst come to worst, I can just shove it down the hill. But yeah, I this is the part that I did not do well on. One thing that I am rethinking, if I'm going to travel with my machine, I really, because even if I have to check it, like going back, I could take it as a carry-on, but I don't have a bag for that. So, I need to figure out a like a travel solution for the sewing machine. Some kind of bag that like you put. I was thinking about this today. Like I might go look tomorrow because there's several shops in town that sell luggage. I don't know how expensive it'll be, but like if I could put the foam in it so that it doesn't jostle about, like I could probably take it one as a carry-on because I'm going into Mexico, and then when I fly out of Mexico in the future, um, if I have something that's padded and it doesn't move in there, that it could just be, this is the sewing machine bag that gets checked. I don't know, but I failed. I failed the luggage thing. I have shoes that I have not worn. Um, Also, I didn't quite have a good grasp on the weather, given where I am and the time of year it is. So there are clothes I brought and shoes I brought that did not get worn. And so, being somebody who has traveled light for so long, bringing things that you don't wear, that's like there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that. Oh, okay. I guess it's not going to turn back on. There it is. There's no excuse for that. So I did fail. I am gonna ask him. There is a taxi service. The problem is because of where this building is located, because it is like in the center of the historic part of town, it's in a restricted traffic zone. Because my host doesn't speak English really. And he was trying to explain to me that he had this special parking pass or traffic pass that allowed him to come into this area. And so I don't know if he can't take me, then I need to ask him if I call a taxi, can they come up to the building? Because if they can't come to the building, I might just shove that suitcase down the down the hill. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's the biggest like mistake has been that 70-pound suitcase, and I know better than that. I do know better than that. The other thing is I didn't think about the internet in a building this old with walls this thick. I should have, because I didn't plan to work while I was here. So I was like, whatever long as there is internet, I should be good. No, I should have asked about internet speeds because this is very different than something I'm used to in Mexico City. There's no public Wi-Fi anywhere. There's basically none. And people don't people don't like multitask. The idea that like, oh, I'm going to take my laptop and I'm going to sit somewhere and work and maybe get a drink and eat. People don't do that here. If they are going to get a drink, they're going to eat, that's what they're going to do. They're not bringing a laptop. So restaurants, cafes, bars don't have Wi-Fi. There is not public Wi-Fi. Mexico City, there is public Wi-Fi. There's Wi-Fi in the metro. There's Wi-Fi on some of the buses. So that has been so when because there was a point in the apartment the Wi-Fi wasn't working at all. And so I had to go to the library, except the library is not open every day. So yeah, I dropped the ball. I didn't really think through the Wi-Fi situation in a building of this age. If I was staying in a younger building, it would not have been an issue. Um, so yeah, that those are probably the two things that I messed up on. I think something else, if you're thinking about going to Italy, something I don't know if you realize this, but you have to pay to sit down. If you go into a cafe or a bar, you'll notice people are getting their espresso and they're standing up. It's an extra charge to sit down. Or they have like the hot chocolate place I went to, they have one price if you're going to drink your hot chocolate standing up. There's a separate price if you're going to drink your hot chocolate sitting down. And then at a restaurant, there is a fee for sitting at the table that's generally charged per person. So if you don't know that, that could be a surprise. So again, given that they're not really multitasker people, like they're not going to be working at a cafe on their computer, and the fact that if you want to sit down somewhere you got to pay for that, it's it's a little different than what I have been used to. Like in the paying for a table, paying for sit down, that's nothing new. That was the case when I was here 24 years ago. Um, so yeah, but if you don't know that, that could be a surprise. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, they have white chocolate. I don't particularly like it, but they do. I have seen that. So yeah, it's been actually when I was in Pordenone and I got some hot chocolate, he asked me, did I want white? And I was taken aback because I was not expecting to be asked that question. So yeah. All right. So I don't see any more questions here. But so we'll go ahead and wrap up. Has it been La Dolce Vita for this past month? Actually, it has. It has been a sweet life. But I am excited to go home because I love living in Mexico City. It would be great. Oh, I'll tell you what, most people, they've been traveling for a month. They're like, I can't wait to get home to my bed. What I can't wait for is a shower where I can actually do more than this. European showers are so small. Like, I would love to take these braids down because it's time for them to go. I would love to take these braids down and wash my hair, but I'm like, I can't do that in this shower. The shower is this big. So that is probably the thing that I am looking forward to the most is being in I mean, my shower is ample, but compared to these, it is ginormous. I can't wait to be in a shower where I can move my arms. It's like fine for, if you got to do it overnight, couple of nights, but a whole month of teeny tiny showers. I'm so over that. And I get it. That is just how things are. But yeah, I am looking forward to a full-size shower. All right. Thank y'all for coming to hang out with me. Um, is there anything else I need to say? I don't think so. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you should. You should subscribe because now that I'm going to be back home, what I'm telling myself is that I'm going to be better about uploading content. So I actually was editing a video today. I'm doing an update on the video I did a little while ago about places you can move for less than $1,500. So y'all should be seeing that in the next couple of days. I've said it out loud on the internet, so now I got to follow through. All right. So next time I see y'all, I should be home in Mexico City.